Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
Well, we dodged them pretty good today.
Okay, under resolutions, need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So move.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Investments?
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So move. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Transfers?
So move. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
There were no advances. There was one repayment of an advance, if you want to know. It's $2,000 from the sanitary engineer to the general fund.
You have to vote on that?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I have an exception, 748. Let me find which one that was.
I think that was on travel expenses, 748.
Oh, yes, it was. Is that coming out of the general fund? John, do you know it was
I was just talking to him about it.
for Lorain County Auditor, 1,100?
That is general fund, yes, Commissioner.
General fund?
Yes, auditor's department in the general fund.
It's the auditor's general fund, not our general fund. What?
Well,
General fund.
a department in the general fund.
It's not out of the auditor's budget allocation.
Well, I think that's the more specific question. John, has he already budgeted for this in his line items?
Yes, it's in the budget, general fund budget, correct. So it would be charged to his department in the general fund. Because he does have a special revenue fund, that's not being charged. This
So-
is strictly his budgeted amount in
Right,
the
so it's
general fund.
no new appropriation, no new additional funding. It's just the funding that was provided for him and the expenditures of.
Correct, right.
Why is it under travel?
I'm assuming he's traveling.
It's training? Paying for college courses? Okay, just want to make
Yes,
sure.
yeah, for training and travel.
Okay.
Okay, I'll withdraw that exception.
Well, you were drawing it out because it wasn't on requisitions, it was...
Well, if he can afford it out of his account, wants to send someone to train. But
But it has nothing to do with requisitions, so we're on requisitions right now. So you haven't made the exception. Because this was on travel. I'm just trying to...
We're under
Because you
requisitions.
had some...
Yeah, request for a variation. Okay.
Okay. But you had exceptions on the
So-
requisitions, though.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
1421, there's 3 items, all under 1421. I don't know what they are.
I'll give it a shot if you...
Yeah, what are they? You've got Super Scott web filter for 1,000 users. We don't even have 1,000 users in this building. I mean, do we have 1,000 computers in this building?
No, but you buy the licenses in a block. The web filters will be used in conjunction with our firewall to monitor internet activity and to block unsuitable sites so that there's no mistakes made in using the internet, or that we receive any inappropriate material through our firewall to users at the county end.
Aren't those being monitored now through the departments?
No.
I would think it would be their responsibility to monitor their employees, if they're playing games or watching pornographic stuff.
This is the start of putting that together. You have your URL category list, you have your Scout software filter. All this puts together a package that ensures proper utilization of the internet with the county employees that have PCs and are hooked into our mainframes and can use the internet. And around the county, we could have close to 1,000 users over the next year or two. There's a lot of PCs, and this is not just for the commissioners. This is for all the PCs located in the county.
So we'll be controlling all the PCs in the
Through
county?
the firewall. Anything that goes through the firewall on the internet will go through this, yes, Commissioner.
And we're going to pay over $17,000 just to do this when, in my opinion, supervisors should be monitoring.
I really can't respond to that. I don't know how the supervisor could track somebody's internet usage on their computer on their desk.
You know if they're, I mean, I would think that they would know what they're watching or if they're playing games on the computers.
I don't know about that.
Well, clearly, if there's a suspicion, we can go back and we could
Yeah.
analyze the computer.
Right.
This software is an automatic tracking and elimination of the, or attempt to eliminate the potential of that activity occurring in the first place.
But the manager could work with the IT person and go back and track if they suspect that somebody's misusing the computer.
The answer to that is yes. Yes, they could.
Okay, so in my opinion, I think we're just wasting $17,000.
Is that the only purpose of this, these 3 items that are listed?
For the most part, yes, Commissioner. They are filtering software and URL eliminating software which prevents unauthorized surfing or prevents surfing into areas that are not appropriate for or would not be deemed appropriate for county use. This is what companies do with their internet access. It's fully within the board's purview to decide they want to go this way or not go that way.
But, excuse me, but what could happen, though, if somebody is surfing the internet and one of these things just pop up? That's not going. This is not going to stop it.
The URL list will stop that. It won't be able to pop up. You will not be able to get a pop-up menu from a URL that's been excluded. It will not make it through the firewall.
And I'm assuming that this has come forward with your approval?
I'm not completely sure that I have a 100% grasp of the issue. It's been explained to me from the data perspective, and they feel it's necessary, and I have discussed it with Mr. Smith. He feels it's necessary, and I believe it has the support of the data folks. I don't have the technical expertise to 100% rate it. I just know that various companies do use this type of software. If it's needed to prevent inappropriate activity on the internet, I think that we should take a look at that before we have before we have inappropriate conduct and then we're embarrassed by it. But it is costly.
Excuse me. The IT people can also tell by the bandwidth.
The IT people in the building right now are not currently monitoring the bandwidth. Mr. Smith has recently began monitoring the bandwidth with Erie Shores, who is still providing us our direct pipe into the internet. You can tell from the bandwidth when heavy utilization is going on, but you cannot pinpoint it back to a particular user. You can only tell that there's a lot of surfing or a lot of activity on our T1 lines going into our ISP.
We also have computers that I believe the public uses too, correct? I think Bill wants to say something regarding this issue.
Right, Bill has quite a number.
I know, he's been jumping up and down for 2 hours. I think he wants to.
Yeah, Bill Oldham, Workforce Development Agency. We have over 100 computers out at our building, the Cook's building. We have a huge computer lab with about 30-some computers, and another lab with quite a few computers that the public comes in and uses. And we have had, one of our chief concerns is some of the sites that some of these folks are going to. It's very difficult for us to monitor, where everybody's going on a constant basis. Software such as this would relieve myself and some of our supervisors to deal with this kind of a problem.
It's a lot better than walking around behind everybody while they're on the computer.
It's hard to.
I think the best cartoon I saw in the Dilbert was when the guy was sitting there going, how did people work without these things? And they were just sitting there playing on the computer looking like they were working.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to supervise people on the computers. All this software does, it stops abuses. It's a proactive management attack on possible misuses. And it's also to ensure the taxpayers that, hey, look, we're not abusing the systems. Okay, that's how I see it. And then if you got, you don't know who's coming in. If you got 100 computers and people are coming in off the street looking for work, you know, who knows? They could be coming in saying they're looking for work, and God knows what they're doing.
That's
you know?
happening.
Yeah, I know, and they could be accessing who knows what, and how old people are. I think this is more of a safety issue, and it's a productivity issue in which we don't have people policing. We can have a system for 17,000 instead of 20 directors making, you know, 30 to 60,000 policing. So that's,
Bill, do your computers come into our firewall?
No,
Or are they?
not yet.
they're on the way, or what?
Hopefully.
It's on the way. Ernie's been working out there off and on for
Yes,
weeks.
he has.
We've had 2 major attacks
Yeah,
on
we've
the
had some
system out there.
virus attacks that Ernie's helped us with.
It's taken, it's a lot of dollars and a lot of time to clean those out, so we need to get them piped in through our firewall, because we need to buy centralized protection equipment when we do get these attacks.
Well, does One Stop reimburse for Ernie's wages going out
We
there?
will be capturing that this year when we do the indirect cost allocations. That would be just like maintenance or custodial. We're going to start doing that, so that will be recaptured. But as you know, Commissioner, that's playing catch-up with those issues, but that's the way we would capture those costs.
But you're doing it, right?
Yes.
Good.
And what about these costs? Will they be reimbursed? The cost for this firewall?
It needs
for
to be,
this,
the portion that they would use would need to be added to the
So if
indirect
there's 100 of them,
allocations.
and there's 1,000, they get 10% cost. Okay. So that's what we pay that firm to do, right?
Exactly. And I need to point out, though, so there's no misunderstanding, that this is a reoccurring cost. This is not ownership. This is for a period of time for this software.
Okay, where's this
Period of time,
company?
please.
It says here 2 years.
I wasn't, thank you very much.
Where's this company located?
Commissioner, I don't have the specific details, to be honest with
Okay,
you.
can you pull that, please, Madam Clerk? Or wait a minute, I may have it.
Oh, she has it.
5 minutes of fame, everybody gets it.
Smart Solutions.
They're out of Cleveland. Yeah, they're out of Cleveland.
They're from Canton.
Well, tell us who you are.
Pam Stevens.
Hey, hello, Pam. Good afternoon.
Pam, are there any local firms? Have you gotten any?
Ernie did get several quotes. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head where they were from, but I don't believe that there's any local vendor that could supply what he was looking for at that cost.
Well, here's one from Middle Avenue.
That's Micro
Ernie,
Advantage.
Cleveland.
I will tell you, Commissioner, we do make an extreme amount of effort to purchase everything we can locally. And we do make sure that we try to present those opportunities to the local vendors. But my major concern was not to mislead you into thinking that this was a one-time cost. This is going to be a reoccurring issue to provide these services, and I think you need to be aware of that.
And I think, John, if I'm correct, I think that leaves us like 20-some thousand in that account for the balance of the year.
I don't have the exact figures. There's a little more than that, Commissioner. It's capital expenditures. I don't have the exact
Well,
figures.
Shelley checked it for me yesterday. It was
Okay.
$21,971
Okay.
left in the account.
Just above 20,000. All right, that's good.
Any others? Any
That's
other?
it. Thank you.
Item? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Travel expenses?
Do you want to make the exception or no?
No.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment?
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
To authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
I believe there was none.
No.
You got a great sheet that says they're working on this.
Yep.
Didn't we receive that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Item number 10 under Commissioners, we have to advertise for bids for the purchase of one 2003 Ford Escape XLS for the County Auditor's Department. Bids will be received until 2 p.m. on Tuesday, October 1st, 2002, here in the public hearing room. We have to publish the notice in the Chronicle Telegram and Morning Journal on September 17th and 24th, 2002.
And that fund What
Also be
fund?
paid from the auditor's real estate assessment fund.
Okay, so move.
Anybody here from the auditor's office? Jim, do you know if this is replacing or?
Commissioner, I didn't place this item on the agenda, so I have no knowledge of this particular issue.
I didn't place it.
I did call purchasing and spoke to Yvonne. I asked her about the state purchasing list, and she said it. Pam, can you speak to that or not, or Mr. Cordes? It's not available now?
Right. They're in the process of preparing lists. We run into this every fall. We try to wait so that we can maximize our dollars and see that we have available dollars to buy vehicles, and then the state list turns. So we have to be a little bit more aggressive early in the year, but there is no state list for vehicles right now.
And verbally, I believe this was to replace a 1994 vehicle. That's what I was told.
Once again, I have no knowledge of that.
How many miles is on it, do you know?
No.
Betty, your microphone is on.
Excuse me?
Your mic is.
Thank you.
There's support to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
And we're
The issue will come back to the board for approval one way or the other, will it not?
I believe we're only soliciting cost.
Advertising for bids. Okay.
I would have liked to have known if we're replacing. You found out that it was being replaced?
I believe that that was the
You believe
information
that?
I was given.
I was wondering if we were buying. See, I was wondering if we were buying a new car or an old vehicle, and what kind of vehicle were we replacing?
I don't have that information.
And we gave Dan Billman a hard time when he wanted that Lincoln or that Continental. We went down to a Taurus, and I'm wondering if maybe we just need a Taurus on this instead of a
Well,
Ford
that's an
Escape.
interesting
A Ford
comment.
Escape that's being built outside this county. I mean, they're not making Escapes here, so I don't know why we're buying
Well, let's
Ford
hope that
Escape.
that's rectified soon.
Well, we're going to hope it's going to be rectified soon, but I don't understand why we need a Ford Escape. So,
I'm
Well, do you,
not even
Probably.
sure we can bid it like that. I have to talk to Ms. Newton.
well, why
My
don't we hold
understanding-
this until you have more
Well,
information?
again, I don't want to do it with the auditor's office. I'm not trying to do that. But I understand that when they take bids, you take them as a mid-size truck or a full-size truck or a full-size vehicle, but that you cannot name a manufacturer or a particular vehicle, because then you're not taking, you've already decided a big portion of it, so you go to 2 or 3 Ford dealers, and they give you a price on a Ford Escape. But really, there's a comparable vehicle that's made by GM, there's a comparable vehicle made by Chrysler, and I thought that you had to stay within those categories when you bid it. I'll defer to the prosecutor on this. I'm not trying to
no, I'm just asking.
stymie this initiative as much as I just want to make sure that we don't, stretch the tolerance of the spirit of the law.
Mr. Ennis?
He's correct. You can't just say we're going to buy this kind of vehicle, and that's what we're going to, you have to have it on a comparable basis.
I can't believe that I've forgotten my days as township clerk. I will withdraw my motion until we have further, my second to the motion, until we have adequate information, both from the administrator and from the assistant prosecutor.
I'll withdraw the motion because we do list a Ford Escape on here.
Yeah.
Well, once again, Commissioner, I'm not trying to inhibit the process, and I don't want the auditor's office to feel that way. I just thought that you had to have more generality on the class of vehicle, so forth, to give equal opportunity to various manufacturers to bid.
When I saw the resolution, I checked it, and there was nothing in there but this resolution. Didn't know what we were doing.
Well, sometimes you can list it as
No, I just
Ford
like...
Escape and/or comparable.
Right, I'm not worried about that. I'd like to know why. If you could get that information for me before the next meeting, I'd appreciate it. That's all I'm asking for, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, we don't, it isn't just an issue of why, though. I think
Yeah.
we've defined a larger issue that needs
Oh,
to
no,
be
I know.
addressed.
I know that, but that's
Oh,
the one
okay.
question I
Well,
wanted to
all right.
find out.
We all have questions then.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay, under Community Development Department, number 11, to authorize amendment to the contract between the Board of Commissioners and URS for environmental site assessment, asbestos survey, and lead paint survey for the Lorain County Intermodal Hub and adjacent properties. This amendment is to reflect an addendum for environmental site assessment and asbestos survey. The additional work is in the amount not to exceed $1,500 for the Phase 1 study and $3,500 for the additional asbestos survey.
Mr. Chairman, this item was thoroughly discussed at the last board meeting, if I'm not incorrect, and they said it would be placed on the agenda for approval at this point.
This is a continuation of the issue we discussed last week, Commissioner.
I will so move for approval.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, this was discussed, but did you say that we went out for other quotes and this was the best?
We went out for other quotes on the intermodal train, and we purchased the property after that was awarded. We did not seek other quotes to do this new property. We just talked to the one company that we were under contract because we're doing it as an addendum.
And what other ones are included for the $3,500? Because if they're doing the train depot for $1,500, how many more are they?
No, they're doing the 2 buildings and the site for the $1,500. The $3,000
What
is
2
for the
buildings?
asbestos in the 2 new buildings.
The ones that we just bought?
Yes, the bowling alley and the
The Board of Elections.
Board of Election
Yeah, thank you.
and the License Bureau.
Okay, that's
Thank you.
$1,500?
The land that they sit on is the 1,500, and then once you get inside those buildings and specifically test for asbestos, that's the 3,500 inside those 2 buildings.
They didn't tell us about the $3,500, though. I think the last one was only $1,500, wasn't it?
No, we talked about 3,500 as well last month,
Did we?
or last meeting, I'm sorry, yeah.
And that additional work is not to exceed the 1,500, and is that same terminology, not to exceed the 3,500, or you already have the bill for 3,500? It's just not to exceed, correct?
This contract for those new buildings is not to exceed 5,000.
Okay, that's, okay.
5,000 total. We have 1,500 for the outside, the land that it sits on, and then 3,500 not to exceed inside for the asbestos and the check inside the building.
Okay.
So there's 2 elements to this addendum.
Okay, what was the additional work? If we discussed this all last week, what are they adding?
We discussed this last week to let you know it was coming and that we had to do this. So we had not gotten the complete cost of this. I alerted the board because we were in the process of doing another job, and I had indicated to you that we would need to do this because we were dropping mosses. You know, we got into the discussion on the RFPs to drop the mosses, former mosses building, and clean the site, and we started talking about needing the environmental review information. I informed the board at that time a proposal to do that would be forthcoming, and that's what we discussed last week.
Correct.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Under Children and Families Council, number 12, we need to approve and enter into the following contracts. A, with Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services and the Board of Commissioners. This contract describes the relationship between the 2 agencies. The board will serve as administrative agent for the Help Me Grow program and the Wellness Block Grant, and the Department of Job and Family Services will serve as fiscal agent for those programs. Contract is effective retroactive to July 1st, 2002, expiring June 30th, 2003. The Children and Families Council reimbursed the Department of Job and Family Services for the time that the Department of Job and Family Services spends administering the fiscal portion of the Help Me Grow and Wellness Block Grant funds at the rate of $15.97 per hour. Total contract not to exceed $16,608. Payment will be made at the end of the fiscal year. After all the Children and Family Council administrative expenses have been met, the funds are available. We'd authorize the county administrator to execute on behalf of the board.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
And HUB, that's the link to the River Northeast Ohio Family Resource Hub Network operational agreement for 2002-2003 between the Trumbull County Department of Job and Family Services administrative agent and the Children and Family Council. The purpose of this agreement is to implement the proposed goals and objectives of the Northeast Ohio Family Resource Hub Network grant funded through the Ohio Department of Human Services. The agreement is effective retroactive to July 1st, 2002, expiring June 30th, 2003, in the amount not to exceed $10,000. We'd authorize the President or Vice President to execute on behalf of the board.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Under the Department of Job and Family Services, number 13, I'd like to authorize the Department of Job and Family Services to enter into contract with Advanced Computer Connections Incorporated of Norwalk, Ohio, for the computer programming and training project for the provision of access data programming services in an amount not to exceed $19,220, effective September 16, 2002 through June 30, 2003. The contract may be renewed for one additional year at the agreement of both parties and the availability of funds. 3 proposals were received in our response to the RFP. The Advanced Computer Connections Incorporated was the most responsive proposal received. Contract will be paid under Contract Services account. I need to authorize the President or Vice President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Under Golden Acres County Home, item number 14, to approve and enter into agreement between the Board of Commissioners and Dr. Mark T. Wagner to provide medical services for residents at Golden Acres County Home, effective October 1st, 2002, for a 3-year period expiring September 30th, 2005. The agreement is in the amount of $3,150 per month. Funds are available in Golden Acres Physicians Services account. This agreement does contain a 30-day written cancellation clause.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Reports, comments, Mr. Cordez, Administrator?
First, I'd like to congratulate the board on a very successful ribbon-cutting ceremony on the new facility yesterday. And secondly, I'd like to yield the remainder of any time to Mr. Ogle to discuss a article that appeared in the front page of the Lorain Journal yesterday, indicating that we had returned $79,000 to the state in monies from the WDA. And Mr. Matatek and Mr. Ogle are here to explain that matter to the board.
Thank you,
Good morning,
Mr.
Bill.
Cortez. Good morning. As you all know, there was an article in the Journal, I believe it was Tuesday, concerning some unspent WIA dollars by Lorain County, the dollars we have to send back to Columbus. These dollars was in the amount of $79,052. This is for our program year 2000. At that time, the allocation for that year was about $960,000. From our allocations, we are allotted 10% of the entire grant for administration. So looking at that, we're looking at an allocation of about $968,000. We would have an administrative burden of about $96,000. First off, the article in the newspaper said we had not spent these dollars. They would have to be sent back to the state of Ohio for redistribution to other areas that needed the monies. Number one, we don't agree with that. According to our records and our reporting, our dollars have been spent. Another thing we need to look at is these are administrative dollars we're talking about and not the programmatic dollars that directly affect the people that we train. The administrative dollars, those are dollars used to administer the program. And if this was true, I mean, that's pretty good. If we're only going to use about $20-some thousand to administer this program, that's very good. And these dollars also are for all administrative functions such as buying furniture, computers, travel, so forth and so on. I have been talking with some of the folks in Columbus concerning this matter because I'm very concerned about this. Because if this is true, that means that Lorain County will not be receiving any of the $4.3 million that the state of Ohio has recaptured from areas that aren't spending their money. They're going to redistribute these dollars to the counties around the state who need those dollars. And obviously, we need those dollars. I've talked with Mr. Matatek there concerning this because this is quite confusing because we changed our procedures last year, I believe it was, Tom, when Department of Job and Family Services became the fiscal agent. So I think they're a little confused in Columbus as to what's going on as far as expenditures are concerned, but Tom and I, with his cooperation, we're working together, and we're going to get this matter straightened out.
It's my understanding from talking to Bill that we did maximize our expenditures during that grant period.
That's right.
Tom, you concur with that? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but you're his fiscal agent
I wasn't
now.
quite prepared for this. I didn't bring the numbers with me, but I did. It's what they call a FIFO method, first in, first out. And this time period went from July of 2000 to June of 2001, which under that period it was under JTPA. I did roll back 200 and some odd $1,000 that were spent last year to that period under the adult program. But conversely, we had youth money that was overspent that rolled forward. So it's kind of complicated the way they do it. There were some questions on some other adult money where the state and I wouldn't agree, and also on this administrative cost. I didn't want to throw it into a situation where we could claim it and then they'd come back later and say, no, that was wrong, and it becomes county obligation. But they've assured me that we can still recertify those monies because they know we had a transition this past year.
Thank you. I just wanted the board to rest assured that we're maximizing and exploiting the dollars for the benefit of Lorain County and our residents here, and we will continue to do so. Not that we may not on occasion have to return some money. Some programs you just can't get it all spent, but we are working diligently towards that effort, Commissioners. Thank you. That's all I have this morning.
Okay. Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Ennis.
Thanks for coming in, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, no report.
Commissioners report.
Commissioner Vacy?
Yes. Ron, just as a point of information, I talked with the Office Service Department in regards to these and the inserts, and they suggested that they can do these inserts. So I just wanted to let you know that it might save some money if we go through them.
I appreciate that. They can print them. The problem was cutting them to size. And unless they've gotten something from the time we talked to them in July, they could not cut them to size.
Oh, I don't know about that, but they said that they can print them, but the only thing that they can't print is the folder, which we understand anyway.
Right.
Well, talk with them again and just...
We will.
Okay.
Yeah, because if we can, I mean,
Yeah, we can
nobody
save some
uses
bucks.
them more and appreciates them more than me.
Oh, I know. They're great down there, and they're really
Yes, they
doing
are.
a
And
good
they do an
job.
excellent job. so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a nice format, too.
And the next thing is, when we went to Huron County, and Betty was with us and John Hamilton, but we saw their trailer that they had put their bicentennial bell on, and I asked the commissioners if they would send me a photograph of it, and they did send a picture, and I'd like to share this with you. But if you notice this little section on the top, that's the part that came off of one of their bridges, a 200-year-old bridge.
Okay, that's right. They're talking about that.
And here's some copies that you can keep if you'd like.
We gotta make
I
sure we
shared
can-
that with Jim, and
Oh,
he's
you got a
got-
copy?
Yeah.
We gotta make sure we can put our 1840 bell on this, too, right?
And if you notice these came from the Veteran Services, and each of them were from a different war. First World War, Second Vietnam, and then they have a skirt that goes on here because they're going to put their trailer in their parades also.
Okay.
To echo what Commissioner Moore indicated, we have another extremely important piece of history located in the lobby of the building that for years we've all walked by and taken it for granted, and that's the old courthouse bell. We did go down and take a serious look at it last week, and it's over almost 160 years old, and we need to do a little work to it, but it has been suggested that we could probably buy a bigger trailer and have both bells available to tour the county on that trailer. We need to talk to the Historical Society because unbeknownst to me all these years, that bell out there belongs to the Historical Society, so we have it on loan from them. It doesn't even belong to us.
How does it belong to them?
Well, there's a big plaque on it that says,
Ours.
property of the Historical Society on loan to the county, so...
That's interesting. If the bell was in the courthouse, I think it belonged to the county.
It
They
was
must have
probably-
given it to
it was
them.
But
probably
I'm
given
sure,
us-
as our lawyer will say, I think possession's 9/10. Is that?
They'll come with the trailer to take it back.
It's a little more than 9/10 since I believe that thing weighs well over a ton, so I'm not sure it's going to go out the door anytime
No, it's
soon.
not gonna fit in the
But
back of a
we're
car.
going to look into that because I believe it would be very symbolic while we were casting the new county bicentennial bill, that we had the old courthouse bell there.
And we found out that the people that worked on the Liberty Bell cast this one.
Exactly.
That's what we found out.
I think they worked on the repair of the second
repair of it,
window.
yeah. So
There's a lot more history there. We're hoping to get the history. We're hoping to clean the bell up. There's some mounting hardware missing on it.
Kinda
Maybe
cool to
join those two issues together for the county fair.
They go around town.
That sounds exciting.
So that's a neat.
So.
It's very interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, one other thing. On August the 8th, I moved to have the CCAO put on a half-day seminar to provide a basic understanding of the new annexation laws on how the commissioners will be processing annexation under it. The clerk and the assistant clerk were to coordinate this seminar with invites, times, and dates. The clerk had the hearing room available October the 18th and the 15th. It is my understanding that Commissioner Blair turned the project over to the Alliance, and the director of the Alliance contacted John Lutz from CCAO and set up the seminar to be hosted by the Alliance on October the 18th, which was the date the commissioners intended to host the presentation. Is this correct?
It's correct that the Alliance has contacted CCAO. The day that you brought this issue forward, I commented at that time that the summit was planned for the 18th and that I had talked to Rebecca Gray about contacting the CCAO to have annexation be a part of the breakout sessions that we were planning.
Well, there is also, well, you voted with me to have the commissioners host this, and I don't understand how this turned around. And there's also a resolution dated January 30th, 1997, and updated April the 5th, 2001, stating that a member of the Board of County Commissioners can only take action, issue directives, or assign projects with the support of at least one other commissioner. I still would like to know what happened, because I believe this is a project that the commissioners should host, being that most of our staff, there's going to be a need for most of our staff to be there, and others, like the budget department, the purchasing department, the prosecutor's office, the auditor, community development, as well as developers, attorneys, mayors, and others, and a lot of townships. And there are townships that do not belong to the Alliance.
As I understand it, there will be an abbreviated session prepared by the County Commissioners Association of Ohio and presented at the summit on October the 18th. There is also, and the clerk is working on an alternate date, which is later, and I believe it's in December, for a full 3-hour presentation to be hosted here, or as you suggested at that meeting, perhaps at the college. And I mentioned to you at the time when you brought the issue forward that because of the agreement that the Alliance has with the Public Services Institute, that we are permitted to use the college as in kind. Otherwise, they do charge for those things. So I thought it was a good marriage. I don't see a conflict here. I'm sorry that you seem to think there is one. I thought it was an opportunity for us to do two things. One, to present an abbreviated session. It's one of many topics that's going to be presented on the 18th. And then for those people, and Mr. Ennis did say that it was a very good session, I'm not sure that everybody needs 3 hours worth of it, but in compliance with their request and to do what both of us had wanted to do, and that was discussed at that meeting. I'm sorry you've taken exception to it. I don't believe I've acted inappropriately.
Well, I have a copy of the resolution that states that we authorized the clerk to set this up here, and she set those 2 dates, and then it turned around, and you turned around and asked her to set our meeting up after the Alliance, after we selected the 2 dates. And we would now have to have it in December after the Alliance, and it seems inappropriate to me that I understand that we have to justify the existence of the Alliance because we do fund them.
I beg to differ with you, Commissioner Vacy. I'm not justifying the existence of anything.
So are we having are we having the meeting in December? Have you scheduled that, or?
I've talked to the CCAO a couple times. They've given me 2 days in December that they could come up, and we're looking at probably the 15th.
Do we need to pass a resolution to have a date in December for this?
Why would we have 2 in the county when we could just have 1?
Okay, so we're just going
And
to
I
have the
don't
one...
understand why we passed the resolution to do this, and then it turns around and leaves the county out of it.
I don't think the county is out of it at all, Commissioner Vacy. The commissioners are monetary sponsors of the Lorain County Community Alliance, whose mission is, I believe, intergovernmental cooperation and discussion, such as what may have occurred on a broader basis today with the trustees who were here and questions that were asked of them. Those questions could have and probably did have go through the Lorain County Association of Township Trustees and Clerks, and that's a format for townships to work together. The format of the alliance, as I understand it, is to facilitate discussion between the various political subdivisions in Lorain County, of which there are 35, including the county. And I just think it's a wonderful means of communication.
Well, there is a means of communication right here without having to fund it, which we already fund, and that's our clerk and our assistant clerk, who can send out invitations, and you don't have to pay a membership due to belong. And we can get everybody together. We have a room big enough to do it right here. I just feel that we can do it here without having to spend the additional money for an alliance. We can call the mayors together and township trustees, and like I said, then I'm sure your township trustees that do not now belong to the alliance will be a part of networking as a group.
Okay, that's fine, but are you talking about having another...
I'm talking
meeting?
about...
No, I'm not talking about...
I'm talking about a resolution that we now have in the journal. And that resolution states, in the matter of supporting the Lorain County Board of Commissioners to sponsor a half-day seminar on Senate Bill 5 relative to annexations, be it resolved by the Lorain County Board of Commissioners that we hereby support to sponsor a one half-day seminar on Senate Bill 5 relative to annexations. The clerk and assistant clerk are to coordinate this seminar with invites, times, and dates. Motion by Vacy, seconded by Blair, to adopt resolution. Ayes, Vacy and Blair.
And I believe,
Absent
Commissioner Vacy,
Commissioner
that
Moore.
is in fact what can occur in December. I think your point is that you wanted it on that October 18th date, and I have requested that it be at the summit. I don't believe that I have done anything in opposition to what that resolution says.
Well, our clerks selected the 15th and the 18th because this room was available then. And somehow, we got switched to December.
I'm going to go back. I said publicly that day, if you'd like to review the audio of the meeting, I believe that I mentioned that day that we were having the summit and that I had already asked Rebecca Gray to look into the possibility of holding some type of annexation session there. I don't believe we can have two, a shorter session and a longer session. I believe there's a little bit more to the issue than is being discussed here, and
I don't believe there is any more to the issue than I'm concerned that we have a lot of staff here that should be attending this, and we have township trustees that do not belong to the alliance,
But that's
and
not-
I cannot see the purpose of CCAO sending someone out here twice when other counties
Oh, I think we pay enough
don't
dues
have
to
this.
CCAO that they can come twice, and it might interest them to see how we do business in Lorain County, and I think they'll be impressed by the Lorain County Community Alliance and what they'll hear that day. And you do not have to be a member of the alliance to attend that session.
Well,
Since I missed that meeting, is there anything I can do to help alleviate this, or no? Is this just statements?
well, let's make a decision. Are we going to have them come out twice with the same seminar?
What's it cost?
Or should we just turn it over to the alliance, or do you want to have it under the commissioners, which it's a county commissioners association? And
Well,
this
there-
is to inform the people what the county commissioners, how we are going to process the law.
Okay. Now, my understanding is they're coming up on the 18th of October to the County Alliance to put on a seminar,
One of several.
one of several. And we're going to have another one then, I take it, in December?
No, we haven't set it up yet.
Well,
Our clerk was setting it up for the 15th or the 18th.
Let's make a decision right now whether or not we need...
Excuse me, a point of order. The resolution that you read does not say October 15th or 18th.
It instructs the clerk to set a time, and
But
she
it
set the
doesn't?
time according to the room, the space that we had
But
here.
it doesn't say that in the resolution. All the resolution does is instruct her to set a time.
So do we want to have it here, or do you want the Alliance to have it? It's a decision that we have to make.
Well, I think the Alliance is already having it, from what I'm hearing. Is that true?
So then
Okay, is that true or
we
not?
should resend the resolution?
No, I don't see a problem. It's not costing us any more money to have them come back, is it? So I'd like to see them come up a couple times, because for those that can't make the Alliance, they can make the other one.
I think that's a good suggestion.
I'm trying to compromise here, trying to find some middle ground. I don't know if this is appropriate or not. I think it's just a matter of...
We also spoke to the need of having an evening
Yeah,
session.
yeah. Why don't we do one in the evening, and what time's the Alliance? In the morning,
Because a lot
right?
of the trustees work during the day, and a lot of them are going to be unavailable to attend the training.
I don't think we'd have that big, I mean, are you talking about having it here in the county building?
Well, you're going to have someone from CCAO come up from Columbus in the evening?
Yes.
I was just making a suggestion, Commissioner. I know that a lot of the trustees, because there's not a lot of compensation in those positions, that they do work during the day. I was surprised to see as many here today as was. I'm sure a lot of them took time off from work. to be
Well,
here.
my main concern is the trustees, because they're the ones that are mostly affected with the
So
annexations.
could we have Roxanne check to see if we could have a December evening meeting regarding annexation?
We may be able to do something on a Saturday. I'd be willing to come in and open the building and work with that too, if you'd like.
Roxanne, why don't you call, I could have asked one of them while they were here, the trustees, one of the trustees, and see if they're going to have anyone put on a presentation from maybe their association, or maybe they've already attended some
Well, that's
seminars.
good.
The Ohio Township Association has an active role in educating the trustees on their job.
And then however you employees want to do it, if you want to just have them go to the Alliance.
I could also ask them if they could do an evening or Saturday, just get some different ideas.
Yeah,
and
just
see.
ask them, get
Maybe
some
they will.
ideas, and come on back and ask us what you find out.
Yeah,
How's that?
because there's going to be a lot of comp time if you're
Through
going to
their
do it in the
office
evening.
Memo, maybe say, this is what I came up with, and then we can write our comments on there. How's that?
That's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're going to have a lot of comp time here then.
Well, let's just start at point one, and let's just see what we can find out.
Okay.
Any other comments? Commissioner?
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Blair?
I have no comment. This afternoon. It's afternoon now.
Oh. Okay, I have none.
Okay, old business?
None.
I have none.
New business?
None.
None.
Book correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anybody have any public comment? Please state your name.
Robert Kish, 7 Cs. Organization is trying to get people involved in our own government, because if we don't get involved, there's going to be more discussions like we just had. I'd really like to see something like this be available, as was proposed at once, throughout different sites throughout the county in the evening. Other than that, I'd like to say, and I proposed, and I have given out a couple of awards which may or may not mean anything, but I like the idea of a candle. A candle does not lose anything by lighting another candle. I'd like to see more sunshine, more light, more penetration into the crevices that seem to be available to hide in. I still haven't received, I know you were embarrassed, but nothing occurs when it comes to purchasing via VCR and making any copies. Now, we just spent $200,000. $200,000. I realize they don't have that many available at this store, but this ad just came out. I could buy a 4-head programmable VCR for $39.99. $200,000 means we can buy 5,000 of those and probably give one away with each request at the rate we're going. But I'm willing to buy one. Bring it to this facility. Leave it here for my personal use, so that I can, during these meetings, they're long enough, if you will lend me the use of your tape, I can make my own copies, because somehow, somewhere, we're not getting copies to the public. The people are entitled, under the Sunshine Law, to view these, I feel, at their own time and pleasure. I still feel that they should be available at the public library. I think something like this, even if you had to pay the fee, I know you can get a regular rental of a film for 50 cents. Now, those are commercial films. This is not a commercial film. I don't think there's an audience that's willing to stand in line. But as a public fee, say a quarter, I'd be willing to make a duplicate of it once I got home and put that in a library so that the public could view these tapes. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
My name's Jim Martin. I worked at the RTI plant in Lorain, which now is the REP plant. Last year, in around August, I attended some of the meetings, which was called the management review meeting. And one of the things that they brought up to about 40 or 50 managers was what to do about the walking wounded, or the people that were costing the company money because of medical expenses and going out on sick leave and that type of thing. Well, as time went by, they did catch up to me because I was one of the walking wounded. I had had 11 heart procedures and a stroke in about a year. And they dumped me so I could not go on a long-term disability plan, which would have paid me until I was 65, 60% of my pay, plus my benefits. By laying me off, they prevented that. And they're doing it right now. They're dumping about 60 to 70 people in that Lorain plant. Two of the individuals that are here with me, one of them had 29 years, 11 months, and he was within 4 days of getting his 30-year pension, and they terminated him. They laid him off and then gave him a letter of termination so he couldn't get his 30-year pension. This individual was off for 1 year. He worked for me as a manager. He was off 1 year on sick leave, and they called his house several times trying to get him to come back to work. Well, he did, and 2 months later they laid him off. Another individual last year in January, he was burnt with liquid steel, and he was flown to Cleveland Metro, and he was treated for months. And he was terminated because he is on workman's comp. Now his family loses their health care because that company doesn't care. They've stated publicly that they are getting rid of people that can't work. Because you have a disability does not mean that you can't work. A couple months ago, the EOC determined that they did indeed violate the American Disability Act with me. They've got evidence that the reason they dumped me was because of $200,000 or $300,000 my medical expenses were. I asked them people not to lay me off, and they said, too bad, you're not an employee. Before I was laid off, I says, if you're considering laying me off, let me go out on disability. My doctor says that I can go. I wanted to work. Now, who's going to hire a man that's had 11 heart procedures and a stroke in a year and a half? They won't even do a bypass on me because they're afraid that with what they have to do with the blood vessels to do the graft, that they will plug up before I even heal. One bad thing about this is what it's doing to people that have the trauma of being burnt with liquid steel. There was one individual that went home and stuck a gun in his head here in Lorain County and shot himself. That will no longer be here because he was dumped as an employee that had more time than other people. There was another individual that worked for me in my department that had 34 years there, and the management came right out and told him You've got a bad leg. We're getting rid of you. And they did. And they kept the younger people. I'm asking the commissioners here to try to find some agency that's going to come in here and enforce the ADA law. You know, one of the things that impressed me about your agenda here, you say right here, the Board of Commissioners complies with the ADA. It's too bad that we have a company here that is violating the ADA and doing it openly without being condemned or told about it. And I do thank you for this time. I really do.
I appreciate you coming in.
Commissioners, for just a second to amplify a
Somebody else
certain
is
comment.
speaking.
Oh,
It took me a minute to get up here. My name is Gary Schmitz. I'm the person that Jim mentioned that was burned with the liquid steel. My September 11th was about 8.5 months ahead of the actual date. I was burned very badly by this company. I had 25 years in there at the time. And I spent months in Metro Hospital. I've had 6 surgeries dealing with the incident. And now my wife and myself have no insurance because I've been terminated. Layoff is a general word that, you know, you're not employed here anymore, but terminating you means that they don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. And they don't. I cost them a lot of money. It would have been better if I would have died that day, but I didn't. And I want to fight them. I want justice to, you know, I want my insurance. I'm 47 years old. What am I going to do? You know, 62, 65, who knows, whatever. I still had dreams. I wanted to build a house yet. And I built my own 10 years ago, and I wanted to build another one. But that's not going to happen anymore because I'm not physically able to do something like that again. It's just the, you know, going along with yesterday, there was 2,800 plus people killed in 9/11. And if these guys get away with what they're doing, terminating people on A&S and workman's comp, they're going to destroy more families than Saddam or Osama ever thought of doing it. My wife has had physical and mental problems. She's had panic attacks. I'm seeing a psychiatrist from this. Where's it end? You know, like I said, my September 11th was 8.5 months prior to the country's, but I'm still going through it. Thank you.
You know, the real shame of the whole thing out there is that everybody was good. They were all good employees until they became sick.
That's right.
we, I believe we passed a resolution of support for those displaced workers about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. Madam Clerk, you have recollection of that? So the board has gone on record as urging the new company being formed out of the remains of RTI to revisit the issue and to try to make available employment and/or benefits to those displaced workers. So the board has taken a position on this by resolution. If you see Madam Clerk at the end of this session, I'm sure she can provide you with a copy of that resolution.
Can you repeat it? I don't know if that's legal, but gotta keep the pressure on it.
We don't have a copy of it.
I don't have it with me.
I do have a copy of the letter from the Steelworkers of America that says, it's dated September 4th. It says, during the regular monthly meeting of the United Steelworkers Union 1104, held September 4th, the resolution that was acted upon by the Board of Commissioners on August 15th concerning the termination letters that were sent to steelworkers who are currently on medical leave for injuries and/or illness was read to the general membership. At that meeting, the membership of Local 1104 requested that we express our heartfelt thanks to you for your concern in passing this resolution and for your continued support, and it's signed by Tom McDermott as the recording secretary of Local 1104.
And after we passed that resolution, we did receive a terse letter from the current owners at KPS and didn't appreciate our resolution. So.
We did?
Yep.
Yes, I sent KPS a letter and an email, and they sent me an email back. And I sent it to the three principals from the KPS. The three individuals, their name is from the three principals that own them. And I sent them three an email, and they sent me a letter back stating that if I had a real problem, I would write a real letter with my real lawyer, is what they said. So that's...
They don't care.
They don't care. And I'm going to tell you, what really happened in there is they plotted against this way back last fall about how to get rid of the high cost of the people that were on medical.
There's ADA laws. Mary, you should know more about this than what I probably do, but maybe a class action suit.
Commissioner?
It took me from February until May to get the case filed, to get the charge filed. And then it took me up until August to get them to charge them with a violation.
Do you have an attorney already?
I have an attorney already, and in fact, there's the Plain Dealer did a story about this rally that you went to today, and they called my lawyer and they called me on what we were going to do, and my lawyer says we're going to take them to court. But if there's not enough support from the county, from the state, from Washington, I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. Every time somebody gets sick out there, they're going to get rid of them. Anytime, they're self-insured. Rather than pay the premiums to an insurance company and have them take care of the bills, they don't do that. They don't pay premiums. They are self-insured to save money. They pay the insurance company to pay the bills. But what they get to do is they see all these bills. And the guy that's got the biggest pile is the first guy that they lay off. Then they go to the next guy and the next guy. And that's what they're looking at. The cost of the medical on an individual. You know, I never expected to have a heart problem like I had. It came up in 1999 and didn't get bad until 2001. And I was plugging up every 3 or 4 weeks. I broke a record at Lorain Memorial Hospital. The doctors couldn't believe it. I had radiation done on my heart twice to stop the restenosing. And they just say, hey, we hope that this works. It may not work. But then you got the other people. They're dumping everybody that can't bend, that can't climb. You know, when you put a restriction on a person, I had a shop that had about 65 people working for me. And many of them had restrictions. It never stopped me from performing the tasks that we needed to get the product out the door for.
I wonder if they had considered it might be cheaper just to keep these people on rather than have all these lawsuits on them in the long run.
They don't fear lawsuits because nobody has gone to their front door complaining about violating the American Disability Act. No one.
But you
no
are.
one. In fact,
but you're going to, correct?
You know,
I see him smiling, but I'm like,
one of the things that I got a call from the human resource director there, Sarah. And one of the things that she talked to me about, she says, well, I should have taken her hint. She said that she hinted me several times not to come off of sick leave, which she never did. She'd always say, are you sure you're ready to come off of work? Because I would have a heart procedure, and I'd even violate what my doctor told me to do. He'd say, don't go back to work. I'd be back to work sometimes in 3 days after having an angioplasty. And she says, are you sure you want to be back to work? And I said, yes, I'm ready to work. Then it got worse and worse and worse, and I might be off a little bit longer. But she told me that I was personally picked as singled out as an individual to be gotten rid of. And when they laid me off, the day they laid me off, I had a heart attack. And the day that they laid me off, I asked them, don't do this. They did it anyway. And they told me the reason they laid me off, it was good economics to lay me off, is what they told me in exact words. It was good economics. You know, this could spread to Ford. It could spread to any company. If this happens, if this spreads, it could spread. And then the county's going to be responsible to try to help a bunch of people that aren't working, and you don't want that. You really don't. You know, people with disabilities can be productive workers. They can be just as good as any. Thank you.
thank you.
I'd like to make a comment on that. Depends who's guarding the hen house. I was an air traffic controller. I had the ability to retire on a disability. I asked personnel if I would have to take a yearly test, and they said I would. I said, if 3-4 years down the road I passed the test, can I come back to work? They said, no way. Plus, I would have lost my retirement. I know of a controller today who was disabled in the parking lot with a bad knee and received a disability retirement. His doctor told him also not to go back to work, but he wanted to go back to work. I haven't spoken with this gentleman since 1984, other than once on a telephone 2 weeks ago. This gentleman also lost his retirement. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
If I could just add one thing. I don't want to walk over there. It's tough. This is what they're trying to do here, I feel, is a precedent-setting motion. If they can get any one of the items that they are trying to terminate in these letters, it's military leave, maternity leave, A&S, and workers' compensation. If they can get any one of those groups, it's going to be a victory for anybody, any boss. You people sitting on that commissioner's board as a boss, us. You're disabled. You can only make half your meetings. We want you out of there. You get a paper cut. You got a hospital bill. You're out of here. I'm not just saying a company. I'm saying anywhere. All they have to do is get a precedent set, and that cannot happen. Not in this country. That's what happens over in the Middle East and stuff. Not here. We're protected by the laws that have been made, and we have to keep that protection.
Anyone else?
It's scary, isn't it?
I think that was probably part of the rally today, and the entourage that went to Youngstown to lobby on behalf of...
More PBGs needed.
But generally, I think that it was a rally in support of the workers generally. There are certainly some specifics with it. I'd just like to thank you, gentlemen, for coming today.
especially for the long meeting that we had.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was something I did, went through 14 years ago.
Okay. Well, thank you for attending today. Move to adjourn?
Second.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
We're adjourned.